Hey friends! Welcome back to the channel. Happy Saturday! As always, of course, I have my little cup of tea. Chai tea is the drink of choice for today. But today I'm excited to welcome you back about this topic. Today is going to be much more of a laid-back conversational style, but it's really going to dive into, now that we have talked about the concept of self-image, how do you have a healthy, view of your body, etc. And we just scraped the surface, of course, but this is going to be kind of a part two in saying, why? What's the motivation? So what? Why is all of this important? Because I do really feel that this second part of the conversation is unfortunately missing in many conversations today, just in general. And I feel like many young people are growing up with a view like, I need to love myself, accept myself. But then there's never like the part two of like, why? What is the whole point of having a healthy mental state or having a healthy view of yourself? Is it supposed to just end there, or is there a reason of why we should be having that and something that we should be contributing to society? And there were a couple of books that really piqued my interest just on this topic, and it actually started me and Ben talking as well, and really just thinking about our own lives and considering the type of culture that our young people are growing up in. Even I as a young adult is something that I find myself facing as well. And the two books that piqued this conversation were The Strong Mothers, Strong Sons, and then the other one, which I'm also reading it, of course, is The Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters. And it's written by a pediatrician. Her name is Meg Meeker. She is MD. She spent more than 30 years practicing pediatric and adolescent medicine, as well as counseling teens and parents. And she really goes on a lot of the experiences that she's had with teens and what they have told her. When the doors are closed, the parents aren't there, so they're very honest about what they're really wanting from their relationship with their parents. And a lot of it is not what you might think. The whole concept of it really comes down to the world is a very tough place, and how can we prepare our kids for this tough place? But not just prepare it where they're going to be a victim in that tough place, or they're just going to be swept up, by the tide of whatever's going on. But how can they themselves actually have beliefs that they stick to, values that they hold to, and how can they really be productive, healthy, and thriving adults as they enter the world? And so I really am excited to just explore this topic. Like I said, it's going to be a very casual, more of a friend to friend, and it's actually going to be a shorter video because it's more like a question. It's more to, go ahead and encourage you and challenge you to really think about what it is that motivates all of this. So without further ado, let's go ahead and dive into the video. Now, of course, as we're starting this, I just want to mention that when it comes to these types of topics, of course, there is a very wide variety of opinions, and I totally respect that. Everyone has different experiences, which have led them to certain conclusions, and this is more of my perspective on how I, feel about it, and a lot of it is based on my experiences and how my parents encouraged and equipped me to handle the experiences, especially the ones surrounding, like I said, my appearance and how did I cope with all of that. And like I said, there was going to be a question component to this, and my question and my challenge to you would be to sit and really think about this. And this would be a part also that I would encourage you to go ahead and comment maybe below, and you can share there. But when it comes to loving yourself or having a healthy mental state, what is the point of you doing all of that? Why are you doing that? You want to love yourself or have a healthy view of yourself, so what? Why? How is it going to change your life? And go ahead, like I said, if you would comment below. And of course, this is going to be my lovely little reminder to hit the subscribe button if you have not already. You can click the notification bell if you'd like to receive those weekly notifications. But typically, I will try to upload every Saturday. And so with that question, like I said, so many times and online we can see so many things about loving yourself, accepting yourself, being okay with your flaws. But I really feel like the dialogue gets chopped short because yes, more and more and more this conversation is being had, but Yet, why is depression and why are mental anxieties and all of that, why does it seem like those are still rising? If we're promoting this so heavily in body positivity, why is it still that we have, people who are unhappy? And of course, that is a humongous question. I definitely recognize that, and I'm not going to try to attempt to answer all of it nearly here. But one thing that Ben and I were talking about is that could it be that that we as a society are way too focused on ourselves and way too focused on our own happiness and too focused on us and what we're getting out of life. And we were even talking, Ben and I had kind of this discussion, and we're kind of, in some ways, we have two different struggles. For me, I have a tendency to become just very focused on my goals, very focused on my self-improvement, and very focused on just me and my path and my direction, and I kind of tend to forget things. Ben is more on the other end, where he is almost too focused on, is he a good person? Like, what do people think about him? Will people perceive him as being a good person? Will they remember that he was a man of integrity, etc., etc.? So he's almost too concerned what people would think about him. But they both lead to the same, if you will, end result, in that we're both focusing so much on ourselves. And it was kind of a little bit of like a wake-up call to both of us, and we didn't even realize how much it's just, how easy it is to become so I don't want to know if you could say the word absorbed, but sure, absorbed. It's so easy to become so like focused inward that we forget about, what is going on around us. But one thing that I really appreciate about my parents and how they raised me, especially when it came to my face, we did not focus entirely on my face. Like, they did not let me sit in my room and have pity parties about woe is me and my life is so terrible and this and that and the other. Like, that is something I'm very thankful for. They were always focusing like, yes, we recognize like this is hard, this is difficult. Like, it's one of those things, definitely recognize whatever pain or whatever challenge that you are going through, but recognize that's not the whole story. Your story is not the whole story. There's a whole other world going on outside of your realm. And sometimes you need to step outside of your story in your little circle and maybe reach out to someone else who is struggling and someone else who's going through pain. And it helps you have a realistic perspective on what's going on, because like we knew friends, like we had some friends, they were younger girls, like whether it be going through cancer or whether they were going through, one was going through like a lung transplant, or even when I used to go to Boston Children's, like I would see children with so many different types of things going on. And I honestly, when I would see all of that, like my things and my surgeries were really almost tame compared to some of the stuff that I saw. And so I really appreciate that about my parents. And I think what they were trying to help me realize is, when it comes to loving self and when it comes to your view of yourself, a lot of it just comes down to having a realistic view of you and recognizing your place in the world. And what I mean by that is not making yourself bigger than you really are. And of course, there's so many different types of definitions when it comes to humility or being proud or arrogant, like what is all of that. But I think one of my favorite definitions of humility would be having an honest and realistic view of yourself. Not thinking lower of yourself than you really are. So you're not going to beat yourself up. You're not going to say, oh, I'm a terrible person, I'm never going to amount to anything, I'm never, you're not going to be abusing and degrading yourself. But at the same time, you're not going to become so absorbed in yourself that life, and it feels like the whole universe is revolving around you. And I honestly, of course, this could be definitely a debated topic, but I do believe that is one of the things that many parents and just kind of the current culture is really encouraging, maybe without even realizing it, is the focus on self and the focus on just like me and my happiness and my well-being and my this and my that, And of course, like I said, I want you to be a healthy person. I want me to be a healthy person. But why is it that we want to be healthy people? I want to be a healthy person so that I can be the best wife that I can be. I want to be a healthy person so that I can be the best friend that I can be. I want to be a healthy person so that way I can be the best mom that I can be. You know, when you really think about it, it's like, that's not focusing on me, you know. And I think this is something like I've even recently, I'm like, I really need to start encouraging myself to find unique ways to reach out to people and show love to different people, because when you start doing that, you very quickly realize, like I said, life is not all about you. And it sounds so cliche, but it's so easy for us to fall into. And with Instagram and everyone just posting pictures constantly of their beautiful lives, and oh, look at me and my amazing body and my amazing life, and this is what you want, and look at me, you know, it's just so easy. And I know, like for me, even, you know, it's so easy just to get caught up in that little river, that stream, and pretty soon you're just like one of those people floating down the river, and until all of a sudden you realize, like, wow, I am not happy living this way, or this is not making me feel fulfilled, like this is not giving me a purpose, you know. And so it just kind of shakes you and wakes you up a little bit. And I love the Meg Meeker's books. Oh, they're so good. But I'm currently reading the Strong Fathers, Strong Daughters, and it's just amazing how having like the steady father figure, it's just amazing how it can change a daughter's life. And how when you have, you know, of course life is going to be tough, but when you have someone to guide you, to realize life is not all about you, learning how to go through life with grace and grit and toughness and tenacity, like it gives you such a confidence, but it also gives you such a power to recognize, like, life circumstances are always going to be happening around us. Of course, there's always things that we cannot control, but there are things that we can control, and that's our response. And I think that's one of the one of the greatest things that I'm really thankful for from my experience with my cleft in my face, is I really realized that I do not have to allow the circumstances to control how I actually interact with the situation. For instance, whenever I would find out that I was going to be having a surgery, of course I was sad initially, and I'm like, nobody wants to be told that. But eventually I got to the point where I had trained my brain to picture myself on the other side of the surgery and picture myself with having a positive experience, whether it was like eating a popsicle or getting to watch TV or whatever, and doing those types of different things. I never realized actually how strong that made my will. I don't think I realized how strong it was until I met Ben, because this is something where we're very different. Like, Ben is very sweet and very kind, but that's something he's told me that sometimes he struggled with, is like, you know, how do you train your mind and train the will, and really you can take more control of your perspective on life than you realize. And that's one thing that I think is a big gift that I have as a result of having this cleft. My parents never ever let me play the victim card. And with that, they didn't let me, you know, hide. They didn't let me, you know, just say my life is terrible and I deserve to be sulky because of this. Like, did I try to pull that? Of course. I'm a human. I tried to do that. But I really just appreciate, like, my mom's persistence and continual direction and encouraging me to take a look away from myself. Yes, of course there's things going on with me, yes, and recognize that and process that, but don't stay there. Once you've processed that, go ahead and maybe think about, how can I use this to help someone else, or how can I, you know, gain a more realistic perspective of my circumstances based on other things that are going on in the world. And we could take this into a whole other realm of conversation, you know, why it's important to travel and get different perspectives, you know, because you just realize there's so much more going on in the world. But I don't know, I just thought this was something, a really cool couple of thoughts I wanted to share. And I would love to hear what you all have to say. Like I said, feel free to comment. If you like this conversation, give this video a thumbs up. It was very chill, you know, hopefully just friend to friend feeling. But I really am super passionate about people having, you know, the broader view and just really living life with intention, rather than just floating downstream and kind of going with what everyone is going. And we really have to take a moment, examine the culture, and consider where it's going, because I know so many times that we just go along with the flow of things, and we don't really think about, is this going to help me live a meaningful, purposeful life? But sometimes taking that time to look inside of ourselves and examine what is going to be the long-term effects and what is the destination of these beliefs and convictions that I'm holding. And so that's something I'm excited to delve into even more on this channel, just really encouraging you to be intentional, whether it be in your job, your relationships, your parenting journey, and taking the time to examine, like I said, those beliefs and those philosophies that you're holding to. And definitely recommend you to get a hold of these two resources, even if you're not a parent. If you're just working with children and you want to have a greater insight into what kids are dealing with, and especially, I know the culture around is a little crazy, just a little bit. And so having really good resources that can help you know how to at least have a starting point, in dealing with some of those things and how to start those types of conversations, these two books are going to be phenomenal resources for you. So as always, I'm super honored and so thankful and humble that you took time today to stop by the channel. I hope this video was insightful and that you enjoyed it. And of course, I always love to hear your comments and feedback below. But until next time, I hope you have an amazing day. Show someone some love today, and hope you guys have an amazing day. Bye. Don't look back, don't forget.